Peas on Moss is brought to you by Kimberly Schaub, a culinary scientist turned business developer. Over the past 4 years, the audience has downloaded episodes over 40,000 times, and we have 1,500 impressions across the website and a host of social media platforms. Will you consider contributing to the show to help keep it on air? Donations through Patreon help to offset the cost of web hosting, editing, and producing the various Peas on Moss offerings, from podcast episodes to videos, and every little bit helps. From corporate advertisement to sponsored content and private contributions. Reach out to me on peasonmoss.com for details. Hi, Peas on Moss listeners. Welcome to part 2 of the Hustlers Under 40 conversation with Chef Wiley Bates III. He spent nearly 2 hours with our members sharing his heart about career pivots, packed with Chef Wileyisms, and fielding specific questions from our members. His suggestion: follow the successful leaders and emulate the things that worked for them that resonate with you. Enjoy the second half of the interview with Chef Wiley. Questions or suggestions for future speakers? Reach out to me on peasonmoss.com and on most social media. I'll eventually check my messages. Thank you for your continued support.
I have a quick question about the structure of mentorship. Having had strong mentors in the back of the house and in the front of the house from the restaurant industry, and then being in this industry now and being in a sales capacity, is it fair to be critical of a current mentor relationship to the point where you would seek other mentors, or should you be taking that as a learning experience in stride, and you should be taking what you can get out of that relationship?
I honestly walked into, so I'll give you an example here. And I've got so many Wileyisms, it drives my wife nuts, but I walked into the CEO's office, just as bold as I wanted to be, him not knowing even why I was put on the schedule. I walked in across the plane of his office, very, very nice office, mind you, and this is at Pizza Hut. And the analogy I use, I was sweating like a hooker in church. There's no way this guy's going to bring me on as a mentee. I just like, oh my God, I'm freaking out here. So I walk in, I go, listen, I would really appreciate you being my mentor, because I really would like to be where you are. I'd like to sit in the chair that you sit in, and I'd like to learn from the best, because you got two options. You want to be successful, you follow someone successful and do what they do, or you follow a bum and you do the opposite. So I'm like, easier path, follow someone successful. So I walked in never thinking this guy's going to be like, absolutely, Wiley. I was expecting him to go, get out of my office and go make pizza or something. Dude, you're driving me nuts. I'm busy. But, to your point, what he provided me was very high order, high arching vision on how to deliver results. Right. And what I found is I needed more than one mentor. And so when it got into someone who understood my psyche, someone who actually walked a mile on my clogs, like I needed that. And I found that. And I ended up literally over a 5-year span, I had like 3 mentors who were coaching me up. And then I had one reverse mentor that could help me stay relevant and current on where the business is moving from a leadership perspective. Mm-hmm. Absolutely pay dividends for me. Again, everyone's journey is going to be different. Absolutely exhausting having that many mentors and and being a mentee, because I was being given assignments. And so that's what be my challenge for you all, if you're looking for that, is, providing within reason assignments. Like, how do I get to where you are? Tell me what I need to go look for, what I need to read, where I need to go, what do I need to study? And so that's what, my mentors provided for me. Wiley, here's what I would recommend you do. Here's a book, read it. Let's sit down and talk about it. And if it's actually changed your perspective on the type of leader you want to be. And that was absolutely massive for me. And so again, I talk about, Sharon Webster Tolan is one of my mentors, as well as she was one of my bosses. She really helped hone those rough edges that are generally accumulated when you're in a chef coat. We have a different language. We have a different intensity. We have a different tone. We have most certainly a very forward-leaning type of leadership style.
Yeah.
And she really helped hone on how to work on the soft skills and the executive presence, as well as, the balance of IQ and EQ. And so that's one of the things that I learned from all, up to and including the reverse mentee that, I was at the time 45. I had a 21-year-old mentee that schooled me. And to be honest with you, you're like, dude, you are acting prehistoric, man. Like we don't actually communicate like that. Like you can say it, but we're not going to react. Like we're not going to support you. And that was pivotal. And so it helped round off those rough edges and really helped hone my leadership style. And it really has paid dividends. Like I still have, and it was absolutely awesome. Just literally 2 weeks ago, out of the clear blue sky, one of my apprentices actually reached out and gave me a thank you. This guy worked for me for 2.5 years, walked out of the kitchen, ticked off about something, and hadn't talked to him forever. Reaches out 2 weeks ago and says, thank you. Thank you, because I am now in a situation where I'm the executive chef of a restaurant. And it was because of you challenging me. And I didn't do anything, but I took my learning from being in the industry and working with really good people. And all I did was share that knowledge. And I got a thank you letter that says, hey, I apologize for walking out. I know I hadn't talked to you in 100 years, but you were impactful. And so those are the kind of wins that help me understand that I'm on the right trajectory. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's clear as a bell. Thank you.
Yeah. That was really good. Feel good for me. Cause those are the kind of things, and it's so human nature. Like to your point, we could be in the kitchen and we could put out 100,000 meals. One meal comes back and someone says it was horrible. You go home and you're thinking about that one meal versus the zillion other meals that everyone's praising you for. It's just human nature. And so, finding that balance is really important. Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts, questions, or I'm all for it. You can come off mute and go, Wiley, you're batshit crazy, whatever. I'm all for it. But any way I can help, I'm all in.
I had a quick one if you got the time here. Thank you so much again for doing this. I really appreciate it. So you said earlier that definitely discovering R&D was a very incredible thing for your career. You would have definitely hopped into it much sooner if you could. Yeah. And so I guess what's going through my mind currently is I did do my time in fine dining in that, but I would say I definitely leaned into R&D very quickly.
Sure.
So I guess the question is, like, if you were able to be back in my shoes of pivoting into R&D at a very early stage in your career, what would you have done differently?
For me, and this is my journey, is I knew at an early age, literally 14 years old, that I wanted to be a chef. What I didn't think about is that, that future back vision of that, schlepping 5-gallon buckets and, breaking your back and being on your legs and having arthritis and everything else in between would, eventually catch up to you. Up to and including when I walked into culinary school, I didn't ask for what all the other options were. And more importantly, no one ever mentioned food science as a track that I could take. So my journey is a little differently, but when I eventually found out about it, I actually challenged myself in a negative way, which is to say, you know what, I deserve it. I'm worth it. I went an additional 6.5 years before I even said, hey, I need to figure out how to get my foot in the door. I didn't even apply for jobs. I didn't reach out to people who I knew had R&D backgrounds. I just didn't do it. And so, my challenge for you is just, hey, cast a wide net, go fishing, find people who might be willing to lean into, again, what those skill sets you have. That fine dining translates everywhere. That fine dining talent that you have translates to fast food. It translates to casual dining. It translates to catering. It translates to research and development, because all of those need R&D and innovation to actually run. And what I've learned over my time is a lot of those executives have amazing visions, but couldn't boil water. So they need your talent, Colin. I mean, I think that would be my push to you, is just go after it. And as comfortable as it is, that's where the learning and that's where the growth is in that uncomfortable space. Totally worth it. Don't be this guy. I wussed out for 6.5 years, and I wish I hadn't. Yeah.
Sure. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, no worries. No worries. All right, cool. So getting into the kind of the last points, and then a little Q&A, and then we'll take it from here. And but back to the kind of the capabilities and the relationships. The point I was kind of making or wanted to make is, we don't go at this alone in any capacity. Not only on the professional side, but even on the personal side, is making sure that you're communicating and building those relationships and the capabilities, both on the job, in the office, as well as in your home, and making sure that you have that good balance and that support that you need in order to thrive and succeed at the goals and the purpose that you've set for yourself. And so the point of it is, you can shoot the shift and become a mentor and be the person who can shoot the shift, or you can back away and again, rest on your laurels to say, this is the path that I want for myself. The only thing I could tell you based on experience is that people will have a tendency to back away from you or silence themselves because you're not being flexible. And so, I, again, continually challenge you and everybody else that I talk to about truly being a growth mindset type of leader. And you don't need an absolute massive title to be a leader. You can be a leader from whatever position you want. And truth be told, my mentor, the former CEO of Pizza, told me, own the position that you don't have, and you will be amazed that you will soon have that position. And it actually paid dividends for me. I began to do things and think differently about accomplishments and achievement, not from the position and the role that I had, but thinking about it. I didn't want to be the global executive chef anymore. I wanted to be chief food innovation officer. I wanted to be the vice president of culinary. And so I began to act like that, doing more than what the role required. And so had I stayed the course, I feel confident that, and staying in a growth mindset position, that I could have achieved that goal. But again, my EKG life and my growth model was a little bit different. And so I would challenge you to, again, get back to that purpose over profit. Lastly, but was really building out those roots. And so one of the, being the shift, the expression goes, that's a positive when you're thinking about, building your roots and that growth model, which is taking all of those base things that via people, product, and process, grow those like a tree, branch them out, become better and stronger, faster, taller, wiser, whatever analogy you want to use, and begin to share those things. And you will soon see that your growth track will grow exponentially. And I can only tell you from experience, after being in the industry a long time, the front half of my career, because I was so galvanized in what I wanted to do that I didn't need external resources helping me, because I was just going to push through. Again, build those roots, build that platform, and build that team, both again in the office and at home, that's going to be able to support you in the direction that you want to go. Everybody can't be the president of the United States. Everybody can't be the CEO. But depending on what it is you want to do in your career path, again, own it and, kind of walk the walk and talk the talk, but be consistent in those efforts to be able to share your vision. And again, it will pay dividends. After walking out of COVID and the hell we all went through with COVID and worrying about furloughs and how I'm going to pay rent, how do I buy diapers? How do I get food? How do I fill my tank up? That was just ridiculously stressful. And I think we're not out of it yet. As I sit around and listen to our, executive committee members, and I listen to CEOs and other people that I've met in the industry, and I've got good friends who are proprietors of massive business companies that are worth millions upon millions of dollars. It's a level of stress that you just don't wash away because they've opened up, the U.S. to get back to normal. This is going to take some time. And so, but continue to build those roots and build your base and build your, your squad. that's going to help you achieve the results that you want. But stay the course. That's all I can continue to encourage you. Don't quit. Don't quit. Because exactly the breakthrough is when you step away and go, I've had it. I'm done. Don't be my EKG self. Stay the course. But pivot and shift when you need to. At the end of the day, hopefully I've shared one nugget for any of and all of you that speaks to those 4 points that might be impactful for your career path. I'm sure our conversations on a one-on-one, which I'm happy and encourage you to reach out if you so choose, would be different. But think of this, what I'm sharing with you, as a more global presentation that hopefully would challenge all of you to really lean into your strengths. Start to work on those deltas because your strengths will always be there. And then all of that can be bucketed into those 3 points. What is that? The people skill? What is that product skill? And what is that, and process skill that could help grow your career? And if you can, I guess, begin to pivot into the space that you best understand, I bucket into those 3 components. Yours might be different. But if you can take one nugget out of any of this, I would probably say that the purpose over profit would do you well. If you put your purpose first, I promise you, the profit will come. The profit will come. All right. Any questions, comments, concerns? Again, I already know I'm a little bit nuts, but that's okay. But any questions or anything that I could answer for you and the time that we have? Truth be known, I don't even know how much time we have. I forgot to ask if it's a 1 hour session or longer, but I'm here. So
I had one. It was a little specific, so I thought maybe one-on-one, but give it a shot. You're talking about being sort of that end-to-end solutions provider, and coming at it from a sales role. Obviously, I have a ton of questions when it comes to that whole world. But I guess the most simple one would be, you're talking about being an expert and really owning that sort of one item. So when it comes to sort of having multiple potential solutions to a whole lot of different processing or flavor synthesizing or whatever have you problems, is it more important to be in that scenario asking the right questions before it's just, here's a product sheet, here's a dozen samples, I'm going to clutter your bench? Is it more important to really hone in on those questions, or is it much more conversational in terms of how to arrive to those solutions?
So, it's funny, like, again, in my years of being in a position where a lot of people were calling me going, hey, I've got a goods or a product or a service that I can provide you that's going to move you to the next level. One of the things that I challenge everybody with is know my business. I am a massive consumer insights junkie, absolutely data points, like nerd out on them like crazy. And so one of the things that frustrated me most, and not just me, but the peer group that I work with, up to and including our leaders, our executive leadership team, is trying to provide solutions, and they didn't know our consumer base. And so you're right. Ask the appropriate questions to get the results that you need, because there's nothing worse than bringing your cross-functional team along, putting requests in for samples, putting requests in for insights and other information that's not grounded in the end user's goals. And so you're right. Asking questions just to fortify yourself with the right ammunition so that you're working on things that actually are going to pay dividends, that are going to give you return on investment, whether it means growing the relationship with your customer, or helping them, drive sales and traffic or any of those components. And so, I would challenge you, or anybody else for that matter, if you're selling into a big box brand or a mom and pops, know their business, who's coming through their door, who's buying their product. And that is the biggest headache when you think about my experiences being at even like Yum Brands. Like it was annoying for people to go, Goju Shang's the big move right now. You guys should be putting that on your wings. They're like, our customers probably can't spell that. What are you talking about? Like, yeah, we can call it Korean barbecue, but like they just want a really damn good lemon pepper. Like we don't need Korean barbecue. And so, but they were selling it in because the trend said that that's a hot moving product. But we all know that everything matriculates from fine dining down. But the reality is know your consumer, know your customer best, and then you can then create end-to-end solutions because you're speaking their language. You're providing them with their tension points. And so that's the perfect question, is to ask them, what is stressing you out? How do I relieve that tension? How do I relieve that stress? Suddenly you're getting charters and strategic alignment briefs from those customers that are very specific. I need to create a new burger. They're going to go, you know what? I need to create a new burger. It needs to be Angus beef. It needs to be an 80-20 blend. Here's my cost of sales. Here's my consumer. 40% of them are Hispanic, 30% are African-American, and then it's other for everybody else. Yeah. When they order it, it's late night first. It's, it's amazing how the aperture starts to open up and you see a lot of different things when you're asking the right questions. So kudos to you. It's a great question, and most certainly a pivotal one.
Thank you.
I think I saw a question pop up. Why is it? What's the best way to reach out? So here it is, my email. Yeah. And
perfect.
I'm probably crazy for sending that out, but I am serious. Like, I can't even tell you, like, we don't have enough time. I can share my story, but when I first entered the industry, way back when, and I interviewed for the culinary school, I literally was told that I wouldn't make it. I was told that I would quit, or I would flush out in 6 months. It had me so pissed off that I promised myself, and I literally told that interviewing chef who was a part of the board of the school that I am going to prove you wrong. So clearly, negative motivation works. But that was pivotal to me because I told myself I never want anybody to go through what I went through when people are telling me after I cut a check to go to the school that I'll never make it, that I'll flush out, that I don't have the UFSPA or I don't have the wherewithal. They kind of had a point. I mean, I cut my teeth as a product coordinator at Wendy's, the third or fourth Wendy's ever created in Columbus, Ohio. So yeah, that's where I cut my teeth in culinary, flipping burgers. And oddly enough, I lifeguarded for four years prior to that in high school. And they were like, man, come on. You don't work in restaurants. You worked at QSR. You'll never make it. Don't waste your money. Why don't you go to school for, basket weaving? I mean, literally just absolutely rude. And I said, that's enough. I'm going to prove you wrong. And so to that point, I said, I'm giving back where I can give back. So feel free to use me as a resource if you get stuck. If you see there's value in having a conversation with me, I will find the time.